Hello, my fellow tarot travelers. Welcome to Peace Lily Tarot. So I'm just going to dive right into the reading as it is indicated in the thumbnail and the description. This is a message from Mercury. Today, Mercury is going retrograde. Yay, right? If you want to know a little bit more about Mercury and messages from Mercury, there's a link to my other video about Mercury, and I go into a lot of detail information about Mercury's energies and symbolic meaning, and then I also recorded a reading in the same presentation. Today I'm just going to jump right into messages from Mercury, and the focus for today's reading is going to be about, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I am on the newsletter email list for Biddy Tarot, and she sent an email about that, every time people hear about Mercury in retrograde, we're like, we're just kind of like, oh my gosh, things are going to go crazy. We can't sign contracts. We can't, our computers are going to go haywire. Traffic is going to be awful. People are going to understand each other when they're talking. And anyway, the list goes on, right? But one of the things that she noted, which I was like very excited about, and I said, I'm going to do a reading about this, is that there are also gifts and opportunities in a retrograde. Retrogrades are not bad in and of themselves, but when you hear the word retrograde, although the planet Mercury doesn't physically reverse, but it looks that way from our point of view from Earth, that Mercury is turning the other way. And it is symbolic of us to kind of take our time, right? Be a little bit more patient. And Mercury in retrograde seasons are also opportunities for us to reflect, particularly in the areas of communication, in the areas of transportation, technology. And so, and you may notice other quirky things going on. And you may have even noticed these quirky things going on weeks before today. And you're also going to notice a lot of the quirkiness going on, not just between now and June 2nd. So today is the 10th of May, and the retrograde occurs from the 10th of this month to June 2nd. But after June 2nd, there's also another shadow period. So there was like a 3-week shadow period before today, and then there will be a 3-week shadow period after June 2nd. So that whole period. But one of the things that I always believed, I've always thought, and I believe, is that life doesn't stop because Mercury goes retrograde. One of the things that I've always heard about, don't sign any contracts during a retrograde. And I'm thinking to myself, sometimes life has to go on and we have to sign contracts. We don't always have the option of waiting several weeks before we can sign a contract, right? But what Mercury in retrograde tells us to do is, well, if you have to sign a contract, read between the lines. You might want to read over those contracts double the time you normally do, triple the time you normally do. You might not want to just, scan it. You want to read line for line. So, if you're buying a house, it's not that you can't buy a house during a retrograde season, but you might want to expand your options, maybe ask additional questions, maybe get a second or third opinion. If you're sending email communications, you want to look over those emails, you want to look over those text messages, or think about what you want to talk to somebody about before you pick up the phone, pick up your phone and dial the number to talk to someone. So these are examples. If your computer's moving slowly, be patient, although I know it's hard to do, especially if you have deadlines and work needs to be done. This is a time when, the airlines, although I think airlines have had its own Mercury season like all year long, essentially. But anything dealing with transportation, it could be your vehicle, it could be traffic patterns, it could be highways, it could be, so the point I'm making is, yes, Biddy Tarot was very instrumental in inspiring me to do a reading. So what I'm going to do is, so this reading is going to focus on what we need to review, what we need to revisit, what we need to realign, and what we need to reflect on. And I'm going to do 3 cards for each of those areas. And then I will pull a few, 2 or 3 oracle cards to send us on our merry way into the retrograde season. So I'm going to use the Creativity Oracle to pull at the end of this reading. And I am going to use the Light Seer's deck for more specific advice about what to do during this season. It's very exciting. I have been wanting to do this reading, and I wasn't really paying attention until I realized, like, ooh, today is the retrograde. I need to do this reading. So I'm going to send some Reiki to this deck, to this reading, and to all of us listening to this reading across space and time. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just like start up here, and then I'll have 4 rows of 3. So the first question is, what do we need to review? What should we assess in our lives? What do we need to take a closer look at in our lives? What do we need to review? Okay, this one keeps sticking to me. What do we need to review? What do we need to review? What do we need to look at a little bit more closely? All right. So we've got the 8 of Cups. We've got the 5 of Wands. And the 5 of Cups. Interesting. Okay, so what is coming out to me like right away is the number 5. Number 5 represents, among many other ways that 5 can be understood, but the way I'm seeing it, especially with the 5 of, what is this, the 5 of Wands, I guess I should put my glasses on so I can see them without pulling them so closely. So we've got the 8 of Cups, the 5 of Wands, and the 5 of Cups. So lots of energy, lots of movement, some conflict. And so the question here is, what do we need to review? What do we need to assess? And my guess is that we need to review our relationship to other people, particularly when it comes to managing conflict, if that makes any sense. Because when we talk about cups, we're talking about, and notice that there's just one, this person is looking back, this person is looking down, just kind of, I'm getting the sense of reflection in some cases here. Anyway, but I'm getting that from an emotional standpoint, we need to kind of look at how we're relating not only to other people, but how we are managing conflict, right? And this could be particularly in your personal relationships. It could also be in your work relationships, but the focus is more on your almost I'm getting here when we talk about emotional intelligence. maybe you might want to look at how you are able to manage your emotions in the midst of crisis, or to be honest, it doesn't even have to be a crisis. It doesn't even have to be, I'm not even getting that it has to be like really detrimental. I'm looking here at this Five of Wands, and I'm not getting, and I'm looking very carefully here. And it looks like, people are trying to climb together. Like everyone is trying to reach something here in this case. I don't know if you want to see this. It looks like a flame of some sort. I'm not getting that people are so much like trying to pull each other down. I think they're all reaching for the same thing, essentially. So maybe you might work on a team. Again, it could be work related, maybe a community initiative, a project of some sort. Again, I mentioned before, it could be in your family. Maybe you could be competing with other people, getting a job. That could be a possibility. But emotional intelligence. Now, mind you that these cards represent what we need to review. So this doesn't mean that you need to stop doing what you're doing. It doesn't mean that you need to change what you're doing. We're not getting any instructions here. The only message that we're asking is, what do we need to assess or reassess in our lives? And so the answer is, we need to reassess our relationship to other people and how we are able to manage our emotions in the midst of, and it could be conflict, it could be in the midst of some sort of competition, it could be in the midst of something very active occurring. It doesn't have to be negative. I don't want to make this out to be negative. But what is your place in that situation, and how are you managing it emotionally is what I'm getting here. So that's what the message I'm getting for what you need to review. So for the next row, we've got, what do we need to revisit? What slipped off our radar but should be given our attention again? So maybe there is something that's maybe hidden or buried deeply somewhere, or maybe not buried deeply. Maybe it's like humming in the background, but we are not really paying attention to it, but we should. So what do we need to revisit? What do we need to revisit? Oops, okay, that fell out. What do we need to revisit? What do we need to revisit? Okay. Three of Pentacles. It's interesting group people coming up again. The Judgment card. King of Swords. So it's funny, in the first row we have Cups and Wand energy, but lots of activity. And in this case we have Earth and Air energy, Sword and Pentacles energy. So what do we need to revisit? What do we have to take a look at? So it's very interesting here. So, and again, I'm looking for the story, but sometimes I have to start with the individual cards before I pick up the story. So what do we need to revisit? So one, I think, I'm getting the impression that this has to do with family, your personal relationships, but also how you view yourself. Maybe I'm picking up, and this is because of the King of Sword energy here, that some of us may not be as kind to ourselves as we probably should be. That, and this card came up, I think, in the last reading that I did, that we need to be kinder to ourselves. We need to do some cord cutting. Any attachments that we may have to the past may be in order, and it has a lot, I think, more to do with family than anything. I'm not picking up that this has to do with your profession or work or business or community. I think this is more family oriented. And there could be one of two messages here. One is, are you helping out enough? Or maybe you're helping out too much. Maybe giving some other people some of the load, some of the burden to take off of you. Or maybe you are in a position to lighten the load for someone else. But this judgment card, this particular judgment card, because the judgment card looks different across decks, but I'm getting the impression that there needs to be some self-forgiveness, the forgiveness of self, and to give yourself a break, essentially. So there, one is giving someone else a break or getting help from someone else. But the other is, and apparently this is not the first, because it says the question is what we need to revisit. And so so be mindful that these are issues that have come up before, and you are being asked to consider them once again. I'm just putting them on top of each other because I want to make sure that there's room. So the next question, or the next section, is realign. What needs to be adjusted? So remember, the first row is what do we need to review, assess, right? Doesn't mean any changes need to be done. We just need to kind of take a second look, third look. This one has to do with revisit. So these are issues that are going to need your attention if they don't already have your attention. And this one has to do with what do we need, where do we need realignment? Where do we need realignment? So this is where we definitely may need some change. Where do we need the realignment? Where do we need the realignment? What areas could we use some changes? Realignment. Okay. Let's see. 4 of Wands. So we've got the wand energy again. Ooh, the Empress. And the 9 of Pentacles. All right. So a realignment. So what this is telling me here is, and the 4 of Wands card, loving this partnership here. So I'm not getting that we necessarily have anything to change as so much as just kind of tweaking what we're already doing. And whoever we are in this collective, we are getting so close to realizing our vision, right? Some of us are already beginning to manifest what we are beginning to see the growth, the seeds, the sprouting of the seeds that we've planted, that we've been planting and that have been planted a long time ago. And I am seeing us very close to celebrating and realizing that vision or visions that we've had for ourselves. I see a lot of opportunity and not even just opportunity for manifestation, but I think those of us in this collective, and again, if this message resonates with you, you are already beginning to see the puzzle pieces coming together for you. And if you don't already see it, it's coming. Just want to just throw that out there. It is coming. I don't have any timelines, but it's coming, which is beautiful. If you are still unsure, you might want to, and remember, this is about what needs to be realigned. So you may want to, if you have a vision board, you may want to go back, revisit that vision board, and kind of remind yourself about what it is that you're focusing on. You may want to check yourself in terms of your, and I'm not getting this, I'm picking this up, although I don't see any swords cards here, but if you are feeling a little, what's the word, not disappointed, what's the word I'm looking for? If you are feeling discouraged because things are not happening as fast as you would like for them. And I just want to say this, the other thing about retrograde season is that sometimes there's a slowdown. So let's say you are looking for jobs, right? Looking for a job. It may take a little longer, or maybe you're trying to communicate with people or trying to get answers to something. And this doesn't even have to be for a job you're looking for. It could be even within your own work situation. It even could be personal, right? Let's say you're trying to get someone to do some work in your apartment or in your house, or wherever the case may be. You could be at a fast food restaurant, and you can, I'll give you an example of when I, of an experience totally, in the big scheme of things, is not super important at all, but it's just an example. But I did notice a pattern. So I like to go and get my tea from somewhere, and most of the time my cups of tea are wonderful, right? But I noticed, particularly last week, almost like that whole week, people were like making mistakes with my tea. I would get milk with lemon in my tea, which I don't do ever, or I'd get milk in it instead of the lemon and the sweetener. It was just kind of weird. Like there was always some kind of hiccup going on around my tea. And I remember one guy, he had to redo my drink 3 times. 3 times. My mother even brought me a cup of tea, and she said when she got my tea that they forgot to put lemon in it, and then she had to go back and they had to put lemon. It was just so funny that it was my drink, right? So just, again, totally insignificant in the big scheme of things, but it was something I observed, right? I was like, okay, this is really weird, right? Why? What is going on with my tea? But anyhow, so maybe, be patient, but go back and look at your vision board or your journal, or just kind of, if it's just in your brain, some people, they just kind of visualize these things and list these things in their mind. Go back, and you may even want to make some adjustments to your vision. Maybe some things have happened along the way, and there are some things you thought you wanted to have, but maybe you don't, and so you want to make those, you want to make those tweaks. But I'm telling you right now, with this 9 of Pentacles, we are almost there. And this is so beautiful, right? So this is kind of a reminder that if you're feeling discouraged, you need to do something that is going to motivate you. So this 4 of Wands, right? To motivate you, to inspire you, to energize you. I'm looking here at the tambourine, so there's something very musical. They're dancing. I know this came up in a previous reading. It's coming up again, so it must be really important. You want to bring more music into your life in whatever way, whatever that means for you, whether you play an instrument or you like listening to music on the radio. I'm looking here at the Nine of Pentacles with all of the planting. Maybe, you know, some of you want to get your hands into the dirt, you know, and garden a little bit, or even not even gardening. But I know, like, I've been looking outside my window, or if I happen to be outside, and I'm just noticing the greenery that just kind of popped up overnight, right? And so just focusing on the budding plants and trees could be a reminder to you that you are manifesting what you planted, and that and maybe you just want to, maybe you just need to add a little bit more of that energy and increase your vibration a little bit more. And I think music is a wonderful way to do that, and getting together with, you know, getting connected to the earth in whatever way that makes sense for you. Okay, so once again, we've got the review, the revisit, the realign, and finally we've got reflect. So with knowing all of this, of what I just said, now what? Which elements will be most helpful knowing what we know? So this is a question that I have not asked before. I know I said I was going to do a reading on the, you know, the different elements, like if we're fire signs, air signs, you know, and I am going to do that, but I decided to include it in this reading. So the next question is, which elements, fire, air, water, earth, which of the elements will be most beneficial? So I'm just focusing on the elements of cards and not so much what the cards look like or what, you know, just the elements. Which elements will be most helpful for us in helping us to review, for helping us to revisit, realign, and which elements will help us as we reflect on these messages as we move through this retrograde season. So I am just going to pull out one more card. Okay, here we go with the alarms again, right? Okay, so we've got the Two of Cups. We have the Strength card, interesting. Queen of Wands. And the Nine of Wands. Yeah, this I find this to be interesting because notice once again, only one Swords card. So, you know, and again, I don't have anything against swords, but I think it's the culture that we live in that we are forced to be so cerebral, and we are using our egos to survive in this world, that sometimes we are not using the other energies that we really need to not only, and look at this Queen of Wands, look at the wand in her hand, she's got magic in her other hand. Look at that. Talk about a card of manifestation. So what are the energies that we need? We need the fire energy. So definitely need fire energy. So we're talking about, and notice the 9 and the 9, right? So we need this fire, creative energy. Remember I said the music, the dancing, anything that inspires, generates creativity. You know, you could draw, you could go out into the, you know, people work on their land with gardening, right? Light some candles, light some incense, go outside and look at the stars at night. Go online and look at images of anything that gets you moving and motivated, that raises your vibration, because you are in a manifestation period. It's almost, think of it this way too, right? If you have a garden and your flowers are beginning to bloom, think about some of the things that you have control over that could cause them to fizzle out. right? And then all that hard work that you know, did amounts to nothing, right? So kind of look at it in that way and think about what it is that you do have control over. And some of what you need to do may be completely counter to what you are trying to achieve. So some of you might be like, well, I'm trying to get a new car. What does dancing and listening to music have to do with getting a new car? Again, it's about raising that vibration, right? Because you don't want to just get any old car, right? You don't want to get a car and then later on find that you have problems with it. Do you see what I'm saying? Or you don't want to get the car and then it's a drag to make the payments. You don't want to get the car and, you know, I think you get the idea, right? You want to get the car and it be a positive experience all around with the car. So I guess that is what is, you know, I guess that makes some sense, right? I'm getting Leo energy here from this Strength card, and I'm looking at the Lamb. So isn't that so funny? This Strength card represents the Cups and the Wands energy, the way I'm viewing it from this reading. The other energy too, going back to remember what I said back here, that we kind of have to look at our emotional intelligence and how we respond to people and how we see ourselves in the midst of a group, and well, I'm seeing it right here, right? So we've got to draw on our emotions, looking at so this is, you know, but a lot more of this. And then I'm just seeing a mixture here. Like I'm seeing this Strength card as being, and let me just bring this up. I'm seeing the Strength card as sort of encompassing, you know, I'll just put it right here. Encompassing all of these elements here. Yeah. So fire energy, you could kind of do some searches for Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo, read through them, kind of see what pops out at you. Maybe there's a characteristic or quality that you need to focus on that will help you with some of the issues that were brought up here. Also the Cup energy, so we're talking Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, so you might want to take a look at the characteristics and qualities of those signs. And again, what, you know, kind of resonates with you, what you're like, you know what, I could use a little bit more of that, right? And then you go from there. So I hope that, you know, again, it's just, you know, 3 cards for each of the, we have, revisit, review, revisit, realign, and reflect using the different elements. So these are the elements. So notice air didn't come up and earth did not come up. So, which again, remember when I said, when we talk about earth, right, we're talking about the material world. When we are trying to manifest something materially, it manifests first spiritually in the ether, right? So that's kind of where these come in. So that's where when I was saying to you that sometimes, again, well, what does music have to do with buying a car? Well, it has a lot to do with it, because the music itself is going to help you raise your vibration, so that when you sign that contract, or when you pay that car note, or when you drive that car, you know, on your driveway, that energy is where it needs to be, so that you don't only manifest a car, but you also manifest the positive experience with the car, that you have a safe experience with the car, that any others who are beneficiaries of being able to use or ride your car will also inherit that vibration. Or they may not even go near your car. Maybe they're not, you know, in line with your energy. So kind of keep that in mind. I hope that what I'm saying here makes some sense to you. And again, it's not just a message for you per se, it's for all of us. I'm part of the collective too. So finally, we are going to pull from this oracle deck, and then we will be ready to move on into this retrograde season. Which, by the way, the shadow already started, but you know what I mean. Today is the day that it goes retrograde. So I'm using the Creativity Oracle card. I'm going to choose 3 cards. So what is some additional advice? And I'm not going to go into real detail. I'm going to just kind of show you the card. Unless something comes up for me and I need to clarify or add to it, just what is it? What else do we need to know? What's some good pieces of advice for us that will be most helpful in helping us address these areas? Okay, so we've got 1 that fell out. Okay, I'm feeling this one too, that's on the bottom. 1 more. What else is going to help us address these issues and move through this retrograde season? What is going to be most helpful for us to be aware of or to know? Okay. Any more advice? This is probably the longest shuffle of this entire reading. What else? What other advice would be most helpful for us? Okay. All right, let's see. We've got worry, okay, growth, look at that, and fear. Wow, this makes so much sense to me. Just in light of what I've been saying throughout this whole reading, right? We've got worry, so people are worrying, they're being discouraged because maybe there have been some setbacks, ups and downs in the process of you trying to make something happen. Worry is attachment to a particular outcome and the fear that it will not come to pass. So this is just a reminder that, you know, it's going to be okay, right? And it's interesting that this fear, right? We've got growth in the middle, right? Remember what I said? This is, I find fascinating, because we've got worry and fear, and growth is in the middle. Let me just, well, before I read the other messages, so remember what I said about how you could like have a plant and the flowers are like blooming or they're starting to bloom, but we can contribute to the demise of that growth, right? So that kind of reminds me, and worry and fear, worry is actually a manifestation of fear. And these are low frequency energies. And I'm not saying, I believe that when we generate a feeling of fear, don't get me wrong, I am not talking about the protective mechanism that's embedded in this emotion because it saves lives, right? But I'm talking about this preoccupation with things not happening, things are not going right. Remember this here, these attachments, cords that need to be cut, right? These two here can impact how this happens. So know that you are in the process of manifesting what you want to manifest, your desires, but that we can also contribute to why either it doesn't happen or it doesn't happen in a way that we think it should happen. Growth. Here's the growth card. Feel open, willing, and proud of your desire to explore new opportunities for self-development. Oops. And that kind of goes along with, listen to music, get out in the earth, in the air, dance, whatever the case may be, whatever helps raise your vibration. And in fear, if you want to be free of fears and phobias, then you have to understand why they exist and make peace with them. And again, it's funny, it's on this side where this card is. So I think these 3 oracle cards really do reflect kind of what I've been saying throughout this whole reading. We are manifesting. We are so close, to the finish line, although I don't like to say finish line, to whatever the goal is. Remember, once we reach one goal, there are other goals that we, it's like the line keeps moving, if that makes any sense. And that the energies, so it seems to me, what will help counteract the fear and the worry will be harnessing the energies of the wand, the fire energy, and the water energy. So that is it for this Mercury in retrograde reading. There are so many gifts available during this time. And in addition to the messages that I just shared, might be something that you want to do on your own. What do I need to review? What do I need to, what did I put? What do I need to what did I say? Review, realign, I think I have readjust, and then I have what elements. And let me double check that to make sure that I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I have here, yes, what do we need to review, revisit, realign, and then what do we need to reflect on, and how do we reflect? What energies do we need to use to reflect on all of these messages that came through today, including these oracle cards? And I think these are more reminders about what we need less of so that we can make this happen, because this right here is telling me it's happening, but we don't want to get in the way of it. We want to keep it going, right? We want to harvest. We want to enter harvest season, right? Harvesting season. But we also want to make sure we're harvesting what we really want. And we don't want to get something and then we're like, oh my gosh, did I really ask for this? And sometimes that happens because worry and fear are wrapped up in in this whole work of trying to manifest. So if this message resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe, click the bell so that you get notifications whenever I post a video. And then, as always, I invite comments. Please share what resonated with you. Also, if you're a beginner or seasoned tarot reader and you're looking at these cards and you're looking at it within the context of the purpose of this reading, if you have any additional insights to share, please do it, because the mission of this channel is to read, teach, and learn tarot. And that is it. So I am, I'm wishing all of you what's the word I want to look for? A retrograde season that is safe, but also may these energies, the fire and water energies, be catalyzing forces to help us inch more closely to manifesting our desires, and not only manifest the desires, but also may there be joy in the experience of manifesting what it is that we're focusing on, right? Okay, so until our next reading, I will see you at our next reading. Bye now.